Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Dowd here, kicking off another week of tech with a few eye-opening stories, one of which comes from within the Digit fam. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about adding a monthly newsletter to our lineup. Well, we've been working on it, and we didn't send it to your inboxes because we're still in the feedback phase, but we did publish it on Digit.com, and there's a link to it in the show notes. So give it a read and let us know what you think by emailing hello@Digit.com. The second piece of big news is that WWDC is today, and we'll be talking all about that tomorrow. RIP iTunes. Probably. And finally, we get to our top story of the day, but first we need to get the formula out of the way. It is June 3rd, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. In what might be the biggest I told you so in the history of podcasting, our top story vindicates the heck out of what I've been saying for at least a year, if not more. Honestly, I could go back through my Twitter feed and other podcasts and find the direct quote, but basically I've been saying pretty much since the beginning, the main thing I don't like about notches is the fact that they're a clumsy workaround for tech that just wasn't here yet. So I'd rather wait and live with bezels until the tech is here. And guess what, folks? The tech is here now. Oppo showed off a new under-screen selfie camera. So what you get is the full screen experience. No notches, no pop-up cameras, just all screen all the time. And when it's time to take a selfie, that part of the screen shuts off and then snappy. And in a case of Me Too, Xiaomi showed off its own concept of an under-screen selfie camera. The concept has been around for a while in the form of under-screen fingerprint readers. Why? Well, because many of them are optical fingerprint sensors, which is a fancy, not fancy way of saying camera. But it's one thing to take a picture of your fingerprint pressed against the glass, it's another thing to take a photo from arm's length away. According to Xiaomi, the primary difference between a normal screen and a screen with a selfie camera behind it is a transparent anode and cathode on either side of a luminescent organic material. Maybe it's not as cool as transparent aluminum, but hey, we'll take it. I, for one, am excited about this tech because it's pushing technology forward in a really interesting way, and it's eliminating notches, which is always a win in my book. Now the big question, will we see this on a phone in 2019? And that's a really good question, especially now since the year is almost half over. Tristan on the newsletter says yes. I'm not so sure. Oppo first showed off its periscope zoom tech in 2017, and we only just got that now. Xiaomi has shown off its folding phone in teaser videos only thus far, with nothing even sniffing at a consumer product. Samsung was working on its folding phone project for something like 4 or 5 years and still stumbled on the introduction. This is brand new stuff, and it should take some time to come to the masses, so I'm going to say 2020 at the earliest. But for now, it's wait and see time, so while we wait and see, let's head into the roundup! Move over, OnePlus. There seems to be a new flagship killer, and it's the Asus Zenphone 6. We've been interested in this phone for quite some time. You'll recall we talked about the flipping camera module. Well, the full review is in, and this is one hella phone for the price. The only real downsides come in the form of the screen, which is LCD, and a little on the dim side. Plus, there's a flipping camera, so do not take this phone to the beach, ever. Buy a Pixel 3a if you absolutely have to take a phone to the beach, and after buying both phones, you'll still have spent less than on the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. WWDC's keynote address is coming on just as this podcast hits the airwaves, so no, I won't be insulted if you wait until after the keynote to listen. But when you do listen, you can check to see how accurate this article from Android Authority is when it predicts tweaks to iOS 13's home screen, a dark theme, iOS apps on a Mac, and a new Mac Pro. We'll find out shortly, so stay tuned, and of course we'll give you a full rundown tomorrow. Also, along with those predictions comes the killing off of iTunes, and you know, it's about time. Rumors suggest that Apple will launch new software services for music, TV, and podcasts, and hey, podcasts! That would be awesome. However, I would not be the tiniest bit surprised if Apple lumped podcasts in with music, even though podcasts are objectively better than music in every way. Google Cloud reported an outage of about 4 hours yesterday, predominantly in the northeastern United States area. The outage affected Gmail, YouTube, Snapchat, and even Google Classroom. Personally, I noticed a little weirdness around YouTube last night, but I was too busy watching the finale of Breaking Bad, RIP WW, and getting a first to find in geocaching for the 132nd consecutive month, which is of course way more important than YouTube and Google Classroom. And speaking of Google having a bad day, the U.S. Justice Department looks to be targeting Google in an antitrust investigation fresh on the heels of a $1.7 billion with a B dollar fine that Google had to pay the EU with extra money it found in its couch cushions. Now the U.S. government wants a slice of that antitrust pie, and while it's fun to make light of the fact that this may very well just be a money grab from the U.S. government, how can you look at Google and Google Play services and not see an even stronger relationship than Microsoft and Internet Explorer in the early 2000s? And we all know how that ended up. This is another case of what's taken so long in technology, although with a much more ominous feel. And speaking of Microsoft, Bloomberg writes that Bing is not a technology laughingstock anymore, and it lays out a compelling argument for why it's not a laughingstock anymore. But yes, Bloomberg, it totally is still a laughingstock. And finally, the world's oldest surviving footage of a solar eclipse unearthed over the weekend. A film from the year 1900 surfaced showing the eclipse captured by British magician-turned-astronomer Neville Maskelyne, which is the most British magician-turned-astronomer name ever. Neville rigged up a telescope filter mechanism so he could film the eclipse without frying his equipment, and he was able to capture the event in all its glory. Granted, the final product is a little bit grainy by today's standards, and it doesn't quite capture the awesomeness of the eclipse, it still makes me really long for April of 2024 when we get to see our next one in the United States. So for now, that is going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter at digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, leave a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about digitdailypod.com. Once again, I'm Adam Dowd, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.